Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm a social worker here at the KU Alzheimer's Disease Center. Welcome to this week's Mindful Minutes, where we'll be talking about brain games and incorporating them into our lifestyles. I will be providing my contact information at the end of the presentation for those of you that have further questions on this topic. So first, let me share my screen so we can get started here. All right. So first, it's important to understand the myths surrounding brain games and outline the purpose of doing them. When your loved one was diagnosed with a cognitive impairment, the doctor likely recommended incorporating a healthy lifestyle to support their brain health. Besides integrating diet and physical exercise, this could also mean participating in brain games. Some studies support that by staying mentally active, it may help maintain current brain functions and delay further decline. I want to emphasize that this won't reverse cognitive changes, but may protect their current mental faculties for longer than if they weren't engaging in brain stimulating activity, which isn't too surprising of a concept. But there are some limitations to doing brain games. They shouldn't do brain games for hours every day to try to delay further decline. There's a time cap to when doing them is more harmful than good. Just like with physical exercise, you can't work out all day to get stronger. Your body needs rest and recovery to continue to make gains. So for brain games, it's about finding the comfortable medium where the games are enjoyable and help keep them mentally active without overdoing it. Now, I know there are a lot of responsibilities as a caregiver. You want to do everything you can for your loved one. You probably feverishly wrote everything down at the doctor's office and may have done extensive research on the things to do for them. So I don't want this to feel like another thing you have to do on this grand to-do list. Instead, I want you to try to view this as an enjoyable way for your loved one to feel empowered by their current strengths rather than focusing on their current losses. Just because some things may have changed with their brain functions, it does not mean that they have lost all means of executive functioning. They are far more resilient and capable than that. So now that we have a clear outline of what brain games are and what they are not, let's talk about additional considerations. So brain games aren't appropriate for everyone and should take the individual's abilities into consideration. Things to consider are their current abilities, severity of abilities lost, and the confidence they have surrounding their diagnosis. Someone in later stages of dementia would likely not be appropriate to do brain games if their abilities surrounding problem solving, following directions, attention span, and short-term memory were greatly impaired. The focus would rather be on doing an enjoyable activity rather than trying to strengthen skill. Like I said earlier, the goal for brain games are to build on what their current faculties are in an enjoyable way. So if brain games cause irritability, poor mood, the scenario should be looked at. Maybe the individual is trying to do a brain game that requires a large degree of skill that they no longer possess. Or maybe they are comparing themselves to how they used to participate in the brain game. They also could be spending too much time doing the game, be overstimulated, and need time and environmental restrictions. If someone was just diagnosed, don't feel like you have to run out and stock up on a bunch of brain games or sign them up for programs. There are many inexpensive options or options you may already have at the house. You could also check out a consignment store like Half Price Bookstore or a local hobby and game store for ideas. Here is an extensive list of some of those options. Your loved one may need your expertise to help navigate the most appropriate options for them. Some can be done on their own, and others may require you to sit with them and assist playing the game. So think about time availability as well as your loved one's independence. There's so many different kinds of brain games to diversify your loved one's routine. So if one game doesn't seem to be going particularly well, try a different one. So take a look at the list here. You can see there are many options outside of the typical brain game. What people commonly think of when we say brain games are the word and number games like word searches, Sudoku, crossword puzzles, and solitaire. These are all great independent activities to do and are easy to access. But if these aren't of interest to them, there are other options. There are matching games, appropriately called memory and concentration. There are brain teasers that they could look at, like a Rubik's Cube, trying to solve that as the best they can, or deciphering riddles. A common riddle book is called Joggin' Your Noggin, and this can be found online or in stores. But there are many other riddle books out there, just depending on what suits them best. Also popular are jigsaw puzzles that can range in complexity, so it generally appeals to a larger audience. It's something they can easily grow in complexity as well as they feel comfortable, and it leaves them with a nice finished picture. Many people enjoy puzzles because it also is something they can do with others. For those that are more tech savvy or comfortable with smartphone apps, there are an abundant amount of video and computer app games they can download. Of course, simple board games like checkers and card games offer a variety of interest and ample brain stimulation too. Other examples are games called Set, where you group cards based on similarities and differences, as well as The Game, actually called The Game, which follows number sequencing and strategy. Scrabble and Bananagrams are great for word language processing as well. It might be a stretch, but you could consider Paint by Numbers as a brain game because it requires you to match corresponding numbers with colors. These can also vary in complexity and are great for those that enjoy a creative outlet. Reading and writing may be a good alternative because things like book discussion require further retention of detail and processing. The list goes on as brain games cover a wide range of options, which is good because variety is important. It's great to practice a task to grow in proficiency. When it comes to brain health, variety is even better. Brain health isn't that different from physical health. You'll keep hearing that over and over in this presentation. So to build strength to achieve a fitness goal, you don't just do the same thing over and over again. You give your body a variety of workouts to optimize overall health. Someone might decide to do push-ups every day and get really good at them, but by doing so, completely ignore other aspects of their physical strength, such as flexibility from incorporating stretching or yoga into the fitness routine. The same way, you don't just want to strengthen one aspect of your brain. You want to be strong in many aspects of brain function as you can. Some of these functions include memory, problem solving, recall, concentration, language, logical thinking, and spatial awareness and understanding. Some functions come more naturally, and you don't have to work as hard to test them. When deciding on what brain games are best for your loved one, keep in mind your loved one's strengths and weaker areas. They may be able to choose more challenging games that address their strengths and may need to start at beginner level for games that target their less natural areas or areas most prominently struggling with from their impairment. You just don't want them to get bored from doing the same game over and over again that targets the same brain function. Try to think about variety when selecting a brain game with them. So putting these into practice may require a little modification. Just like with physical training, you start out slow with brain games. You don't want them to try to overdo it by starting with a challenging 5,000-piece puzzle when they haven't done a jigsaw puzzle in the last 30 years. Be realistic and set them up for success by starting something of interest at an attainable level. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Over-challenging them initially isn't going to help protect their brain function quicker. It's just going to frustrate them and make them not enjoy doing the game. If one of the games is already something they were previously doing, it may be hard for them to not compare themselves to their prior abilities. It may take time for them to be okay with participating differently or needing more time to complete the game. Help them stay in the present by having them compete with their new best and making a more realistic goal. They don't always have to finish the game. They can adapt it to be most successful. For example, you could see how many words they could find in a word search in 15 minutes instead of needing to find all the words. Or do Bananagrams instead of Scrabble if they feel peer pressure from others and need to slow down. Like I said earlier, this isn't supposed to be a time-consuming activity. Don't overdo it. They need to maintain a comfortable time period for the brain game. For some people, it may be 30 minutes a day. Others, it may be an hour every other day. You want them to test their brain at a comfortable pace and not feel fatigued or be giving themselves a headache from doing brain games all morning. Also, time of day for brain game is important. When implementing this into their routine, think about the time of day when they are most alert. It also helps to have a quiet environment that is distraction-free to allow them to fully concentrate. This may mean taking the dog for a walk while they do a game for 20 minutes, or getting noise-canceling headphones and having them go in a different room away from visual distractions. Remember, the goal is to stay active and support a healthy lifestyle. Give them and yourself some grace with processing any new information with the diagnosis and not overburdening yourself with excessive tasks. Help them keep their brain busy, but remember to take a break too. So this is a lot of information to consider. So I wanted to go over an example I created for what a brain game plan may be like. So let's say your loved one's strengths are visually, they can see something, remember it really well. Maybe they're also good at problem solving. They might struggle more with concentrating for long periods of time or feel performance anxiety in a group if they don't feel as confident in what they're doing. So with this in mind, I chose some possible brain games to be the memory card game or maybe a challenging 15,000 piece jigsaw puzzle and some riddle books. Additionally, they could do the set game, which I discussed earlier, or working with others and working up to that level of playing with other people once they felt more confident in what they were doing. Same could be for bananagrams and working up to playing in a group setting with Scrabble. For those who don't know what bananagrams are, it just gives them the ability to play like a one-player game of Scrabble, where they make as many words with the letters that they have. So you don't want to overwhelm them by doing all these games at the same time. So I've selected down to doing jigsaw puzzle and bananagrams. To mix it up, they may alternate days for the activities and aim for about 30 minutes each day. Let's say they are like me, and their best time of day is mid-morning, after having some coffee and the opportunity to wake up more. Have them do this for a few weeks and reflect on their progress and make adjustments as needed, whether that be adding another game into the cycle or trialing something else out. If your loved one is agitated, don't wait to change up the routine. Make immediate adjustments. Remember, it's supposed to be fun for them. All right, so if anyone wishes to talk through how to implement brain games into their life or have additional questions, feel free to email or call me for further assistance. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to learn more about brain health and things you can do to stay active. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time for our Mindful Minutes.